Good Monday evening, everybody. Zeb here. I hope you had just an amazing Monday. And I don't know. Some people don't like Mondays. I love Mondays. I get to talk to y'all about sections of the Bible. And today's one of my very favorites, Job 37 to 39. This is where God comes onto the scene after this discussion is prolonged between Job's three accuser friends and Job. Let's first look at who is speaking in Job 37, because it's not any of the above. There's a young man by the name of Elihu, the son of Barachel the Buzite, of the family of Ram, and he was basically a descendant of brother of Abraham. He crashes the party. All of a sudden he starts talking. He's a younger man who's been listening to the three accuser friends of Job accusing him, but not making their point, because their point was basically wrong. Anyway, I do these in the morning sometimes. You might be able to tell that. Sorry. And I don't. This is without makeup. Just saying. So let's get on with it. When there's a lull in the conversation, he explains that he's been sitting like fermenting wine, ready to burst out of its new wineskins. He literally could not contain himself. Some scholars say that he was an interloper who was out of line and should not have intervened, claiming perfect knowledge of God, which is something that came out of the mouth of Elihu. But the word intervened is very interesting. Others consider him a foreshadowing of Christ, or a preparatory prophet, like John the Baptizer or Elijah, perhaps. But while he is there to set the stage for God's grandeur and majesty, he also makes the mistake of assuming Job is guilty of sin and being punished. So that more favors the idea that he was just an interloper. And so Elihu complicates things with being himself kind of a paradox. Some beautiful poetry in his description of God includes, he unleashes his lightning beneath the whole heaven and sends it to the ends of the earth. After that comes the sound of his roar, his thunder with his majestic voice. When his voice resounds, he holds nothing back. He says to the snow, fall on the earth, and to the rain shower, be a mighty downpour, so that everyone he has made may know his work. Everybody has a chance to know God. Even somebody living in some remote part of the world where the gospel has not been preached. If there are such places now. I heard that they had reached like the last remote island. Most of the places have been reached by the internet. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So first you get this thing called the internet. Then you look on the internet and you find out about Jesus, and you had never been told about Jesus in your entire life. Anyway. The breath of God produces ice, and the broad waters become frozen. He loads the clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through them. He brings the clouds to punish people or to water his earth and show his love. This is why Job is poetry, in case you weren't still wondering. Listen to this, Job. Stop and consider God's wonders, he says. Can you join him in spreading out the skies, hard as a mirror of cast bronze? Do you know? I mean, today it's hard to find a mirror that's not made out of glass. But back in the day, they just polished bronze, or later silver, to the point where you could see your reflection in it. And that was how they made mirrors. God comes in awesome majesty. The Almighty is beyond our reach and exalted in power. In his justice and great righteousness, he does not oppress. Then the Lord appears after Elihu has set the stage. And he says even more amazing poetry about himself and along the same lines. But Lord spoke to Job out of the whirlwind, and he said, who is it that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Well, God questions Job about God through the ends of chapter 38. Some random things I selected were, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Then he says something which has greater significance today. There are those that believe that we are living not in a false reality, but in some kind of a simulated one. There are those who believe that everything everything in the world is just solid, and then there's those who know that it's made out of atoms and molecules and all sorts of things. But there are many people who, and a lot of the top scientists, God have mercy on their souls, that we're not living in that we're living in a simulated reality. Not a false one necessarily, but in some kind of a simulated one, like a computer program. What is clearly true is that the fabric, the logos, the word that creation is knit together with is mathematical. Just consider this. If there was one true instance where 2 plus 2 did not equal 4, the whole universe would fall to pieces. So here God says, who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? Of course, he's being metaphorical and poetic, but there's meaning in that. As a matter of fact, there have been scientists who've been able to take what it says in Job and I put my hand like that, and I get this weird hand symbol on my screen. I don't know why. I don't know if you're going to see that or not. That was weird. So I got to stop doing that. But there are scientists who've been able to take what it says in Job and extrapolate mathematical formulas out of it. Pretty amazing stuff. So where were you when I yeah. Then there's an illusion He says something which has greater significance today. Rewind to that. There are those that believe that we're living not in a false reality, but in some kind of simulated one like a computer program. What is clearly true is that the fabric, the logos, the word, the creation is knit together is mathematical. If there is one instance where 2 plus 2 did not equal 4, by the way, this is not AI, this is my own writing, the whole universe would fall to pieces. So here God says, who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? While God is speaking of his glory and magnifying his majesty, he's also chastising Job. Surely you know. Then there's an allusion which fits in with the councils and the plural Elohim that Michael Heiser covered in great detail in his book, The Unseen Realm, where God says, while the morning stars, okay, who is that exactly, right, sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. In fact, if science has proven anything about God, getting back to that, it has not been supportive of such as Bart Ehrman, atheist author, but to give us more to marvel at. Let me give you a few of those things and then get back to God's questioning and chastising of Job. Here are just a few. DNA is in the mitochondria of every cell in our bodies, but if you uncoiled and connected the DNA from all cells in a single human body end to end, the total physical length is 74 billion kilometers. This is long enough to travel from Earth to the Sun and back roughly 247 times round trip. Also, the odds of one single functioning protein coming together by random chance are 1 in 10 to the 272nd power, 272 zeros. That's the odds. There's no shortage of these amazing facts that leave your lower jaw on the floor. Have you ever given orders to the morning, God continues, or shown the dawn its place that it might take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? Just gorgeous poetry. Have you ever comprehended the vast expanses of the earth? Tell me if you know all this. Then God really gets into some chastisement, asking, what is the way to the abode of light? And where does darkness reside? Can you take them to their places? Do you know the paths to their dwellings? Surely you know, for you were already born. You have lived so many years. What is the way to the place where the lightning is dispersed, or the place where the east winds are scattered over the earth? Do you know of the laws of heaven? Can you set up God's dominion over the earth? Who can tip over the water jars of the heavens when the dust becomes hard? Beautiful. God continues into chapter 39, but I don't, with his glory being represented in the wild animals of the world, which is such beautiful poetry. It's not until later in Job that God redirects the conversation to the matter at hand with Job, but you can imagine by now that Job is already in such awe that he's dropped all charges against God, and so should we all be if we be so predisposed in the first place. 2 words to remember from the song, How Great Thou Art, could be sufficient. Awesome wonder. Awesome wonder. God bless you faithfully. See you in church.